Here, let me pull up. Uh, this one's really sad. I guess let me finish my point about how toxic this culture is and why it's so important to do what to take this stuff on.
Yeah.
So this is extremely sad post, but it's an important post by
Oh God.
an
Yeah.
a fan who unalived themselves. Mother came to the subreddit to write this. He says, "Okay, I'm not technically a boomer as I'm 43, which is 6 years older than me, for the record. I've been watching this podcast since my 19-year-old son died by unaliving himself in 2018. He was a huge fan of iDubbbz and H3, and he'd often show me their videos. Ever since he left, watching the podcast helps me feel a bit more connected to him. He was seriously funny, and since I've started watching, I can see that he was heavily influenced by iDubbbz and H3. So first and foremost, thanks to Ethan and Ela and the crew for everything. My kid was young and physically fit, was always on his skateboard, and didn't quite understand depression. He viewed unaliving as selfish and stupid. His life was skateboarding and anime. Any problem could be fixed with either, until it couldn't. Nobody, myself and his closest friends, would ever think that this could happen. Now I've had a lot of time to think about this, and maybe somewhere along the line he was told that depression was weakness. The last thing boys his age want is to come off as weak. Hearing these alpha males talk like this is seriously scary, and I'm so glad that Ethan pointed out that it's toxic. I'm hoping that he can put his ego aside a bit and educate himself before trying to influence his peers. It can do more harm than you know. I'm thankful that Ethan is so open with his own battle, and I hope that the young men who are here for the goofs and gaffs can take comfort in knowing that if your depression isn't cured by exercising alone, then trying other things like counseling and medication isn't weak. Doing everything that you can to survive is what makes you alpha." And fighting back the tears a little bit as I'm reading
I
that.
know.
So tragic, but it is, right? I mean, I felt that pressure that taking even to talk to somebody, but taking medicine, it's like it's weak. And talking to him yesterday, you really understand that. Um, they think, and you hear it from Bradley Martin all the way down. These guys think going to the gym is the fucking that's
It'll
it,
fix you.
and it'll fix you. And for some people, it's not going to help. And then they're going to think, what's wrong with me? I'm weak. There's no hope. There's no other option. I go to the fucking gym. I go to the gym. You know, I drink my whey protein. I'm jacked as fuck. But I'm still like depressed. And there are other options. There's better options, and it don't make you weak. You know. And he goes on this shit about like making these assumptions like, okay, oh, you're on antidepressants. Well, I would never recommend anyone to do that because there's so much more you can do before. And again, they always forward this theory that pills are the easy way out, which I just so disagree with.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's the hardest decision to make because going to the gym is, in a sense, like, yes, it is a lot of work physically, but emotionally, it's so hard to accept that you need help, right? It's such a big mountain to climb where you're like, I don't know how this is going to affect me. It's scary. Because there's also this weird kind of, what is, in my opinion, a misunderstanding or a mischaracterization that when you start taking antidepressants, it changes you. Like you're different.
That's what that was one of our biggest fear when you were debating if I should take it or not for like those 2 years or however long that was. We kept thinking like, what if it changes you? How are you gonna do the show?
Well, you always
All
hear
this
that,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
People go, "Oh, I don't feel things as deeply," or "I don't.
Am I gonna be creative?
I'm gonna lose my edge," and all this shit.
Yeah. Am I gonna still be funny?
And so there's a lot, like the real battle's in the mental. So going to the gym and lifting weights and eating healthy, although it's difficult physically, I do think it's easy in the sense that it doesn't challenge your beliefs because there's a giant hurdle that you need to cross over that says, I need help outside myself, right? You want to fix it yourself, especially if you're a man and you're an alpha. I can fix this. So reaching out to the world and saying, I need help outside of my help is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want that because they feel weak about it. And so I thought this story was important, and I thank her for sharing it. And I'm just so sorry that that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's just horrible. I mean, I'm just... No. Well, I'm glad you're here in the audience, so welcome. And thank you for sharing that. It was
Mm-hmm.
really important. Thank you. You know, yeah, and it's ironic too because men will go, a lot of these guys are also like, quote, men's right activists. So they'll talk about shit like more men kill themselves. And then they use that as a stat to say that
Right.
men are discriminated against.
It's just how are you gonna use data like so only when it fits your narrative, you know? It's like they'll use something like that. But like why are we just discounting science and medication? You know?
It's a weird thing because
So
even
weird.
though I'm not like the alpha in the alpha movement at all, like I still had that hurdle to go through.
Right.
It took me a long time. So I don't know. There is a weird thing about it.